Good evening. Several areas within the vicinity of Taal volcano in Batangas are affected by volcanic smog or VOG. Joining us today live is Phivolcs Volcano Monitoring and Eruption Prediction Division Chief Mariton Bornas. Mariton, good evening.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Ma'am, pag-usapan natin itong volcanic smog na pinag-uusapan nga natin buong maghapon. Pwede niyo po bang maipaliwanag kung paano nabuo itong sinasabing volcanic smog o VOG mula dito sa Taal volcano?
Okay, so since March 2021, we've had very high emissions of sulfur dioxide from Taal volcano. More than a year after the main event, the main eruptive event. And since March 2021, Taal has been emitting very high levels of sulfur dioxide. So there are cycles in which the sulfur dioxide emissions peak to high levels and then cycle and then decrease. So these have been cycles that have been decreasing through time. So compared sa 2021, in 2021, we had a peak of 25,000 tons per day emission in October 15, 2021. But like today, we have emissions of less than 5,000 tons per day. The measurement yesterday was a little over 4,500 tons per day. And the volcanic sulfur dioxide that is emitted combines with other ingredients in the atmosphere. You have particulate matter, humidity, sufficient humidity, other gases maybe, and then solar radiation to form volcanic smog. Now, we are experiencing intense volcanic smog, mainly because of two factors. One is that Pag-asa has released information that there is thermal inversion in the atmosphere. What this means is that there is a layer of the atmosphere that is hotter than normal. So instead of the atmosphere cooling as you go higher up the atmosphere, there is a portion that actually gets warmer. So that most of the pollutants that are emitted at the surface of the Earth are trapped and form smog, or in the case of Taal, it's volcanic smog or VOG.
Tama po ba, ma'am, na comparison or analogy yung sabihin natin na kumbaga parang may nakataklob sa atin kaya hindi makalabas yung parang itong sinasabi natin na smog?
That's correct. But also, I forgot pala the other factor is that we have very low wind speeds for the past few days, and the forecast of Pag-asa based on their modeling is that the wind will not pick up until September 27. So until September 26, we will have lower than 2 meters per second of wind. Sometimes it's zero, walang wind. So this actually promotes the accumulation of pollutants such as volcanic gas over the Taal region, and in the case of the National Capital Region, that would be pollution from vehicular traffic, industries, etc.
If tama yung ma'am, if tama yung parang pagkakaintindi ko, dahil wala masyadong wind movement, naiipon sa isang lugar yung na-accumulate, kumbaga. So ma'am, does this mean na mayroong volcanic activity dito sa Taal volcano? You mentioned na ever since 2021, minomonitor na natin ito, pero does it mean that there is current activity in the Taal volcano?
So Taal volcano is still at alert level 1, mainly because of volcanic sulfur dioxide emission. The other parameters are quite low. For example, volcanic earthquakes are quite low. We've only had 5 very weak tremor events. And then ground deformation is also quite low. Hindi naman na namamaga ang vulkan. That means that there is no material that is pressurizing the volcano or is trying to come out of the volcano, like magma. And all other parameters are quite low, except that the volcano is spewing out significant volumes of sulfur dioxide pa rin. So that is why we are still at alert level 1. And in terms of, is there a chance of explosive activity? Major explosions major eruptive activities at Taal are at a very, very low chance. No? Although,
Ma'am,
hindi naman ibig
go ahead po.
sabihin na hindi naman ibig sabihin na hindi tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng phreatic, yung mga minor steam-driven eruptions, or weak phreatomagmatic eruptions, like yung mga bursts na nararanasan natin paminsan-minsan.
Ma'am, before I go sa Metro Manila naman, no, dahil may reported din tayo dito na smog na tinatawag natin. Let me ask this question. I'm not sure, ma'am, if you're aware na doon sa Batangas, sa bayan ng Tuy, ano, may mga estudyante daw
Yes,
na
yes.
isinugod sa ospital kahapon, and they're
Yes, yes.
pointing at the volcanic smog na sinasabi. Posible po bang may connection talaga yung dalawang iyon, yung volcanic smog and yung mga hindi makahinga, itong mga estudyante na sinasabing nakalanghap noong smog?
That's right. So, since yesterday, we've had this thermal inversion and we've had a significant emission of SO2 from Taal, no? And the volcanic SO2 has not actually left the Taal area. In fact, even nung naggagabi na, we can still see through our monitors and our observatory, we can still see the smog or the VOG over Taal region. And this was actually reported to us yesterday in a special meeting by LGUs, no, of Batangas province, that there were students sa municipality nga ng Tuy who were brought to the hospital. And that's because the plume yesterday that was produced by Taal was actually dispersed on the western portion of Batangas province. So that's Agoncillo, Lemery, Tuy, Calatagan, Balayan. So these were the municipalities, Calaca, these were the municipalities that were mainly affected by the volcanic smog.
Ibig sabihin, ma'am, yung wind direction ay papunta doon sa western, which brings me now, ma'am, dito sa pinag-uusapan naman natin dito sa Metro Manila. Kanina nga po pinaliwanag na itong smog daw na nakikita natin dito or na-experience natin sa Metro Manila is not because of the Taal volcano, because nga po western yung direction ng wind and not towards dito sa Metro Manila area. But with that said, ma'am, if hindi dahil sa Taal volcano, itong smog na na-experience natin dito sa Metro Manila, then saan po yun nagmula?
So we can only presume that it's the normal everyday pollution that we are producing, no? Unlike the other days, the pollution that we are producing could rise away from the metropolis or are dissipated by winds. But yun nga, the pollution cannot rise because of thermal inversion, and we have not much wind, so it's staying where it is, and that's a difference. Actually, pareho lang. It's just the same conditions prevailing over Taal and prevailing over NCR, except that the source of the pollution are mainly industrial and vehicular in Metro Manila, and in over Batangas province, that will be volcanic gas.
I think that's a good way to wrap this up po, ma'am, ano, na parang yung sa Batangas, it's because of Taal and volcano, but dito sa Metro Manila, it's more about pollution talaga, no? And vehicular pollution, industrial pollution. Ma'am, last question na lang po, ma'am, no? Should this be a cause of concern para sa ating mga kababayan?
We've had several meetings already with the local government units of Calabarzon, and of course, yung long-term exposure to volcanic SO2 is a concern kasi these have short-term effects but also long-term effects on the population. Right now, yung coping mechanisms ng LGU are actually evolved and they are actually doing quite well. But in meetings, that there are also a lot of discussions about what to do for the long-term effects ng volcanic SO2. And also, as you know, this is the volcanic gas that we monitor, but there may be other gases that we are not equipped to monitor that could be exhaled by Taal. So we hope that wala naman sila masyado magiging effect, but we should also prepare in the long term for the effects of long-term exposure, which is quite unprecedented for us.
So ma'am, yung dito sa Metro Manila, no, if it's because of pollution, it needs both short-term and long-term solutions po, ano?
Yes, that's right.
Ma'am, siguro paalala na lang po sa ating mga kababayan na kailangan magtrabaho over the weekend, mayroong mga gala this weekend, ano po yung mga kailangan nilang gawin para hindi masyado naman na makalanghap nitong sinasabi nating smog?
Okay, ang mga kababayan po natin, yung mga nasa paligid po ng Taal Lake, our kababayans there, alam na po natin, we need to wear a face mask or avoid going outdoors. And if we cannot avoid going outdoors, then let's wear a face mask. I heard a while ago in a meeting that the DOH is also proposing to use, if you have no N95 mask, you can use several layers of the surgical mask. And if
Ilang
you
layers
are
po daw, ma'am, ang kailangan isuot?
if I'm not mistaken, parang 3. We can
Three
further
layers.
we can further consult the issuances of the DOH for this. No? And then if we are feeling not well, or if we are exposed to volcanic SO2 or volcanic smog and are feeling the ill effects of this, please consult a doctor, rural health centers, or go to the rural health centers. If you are living around Taal Lake, our LGUs have already evolved their practices or yung responses nila, and they will respond efficiently to whatever you need. No? And also, let's take care of our elderly, yung ating expecting mothers, children, infants. Siguro po, if we are going to Taal area, let's make sure that they are well protected with masks, or they stay indoors as much as possible.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, ma'am. That's Phivolcs Volcano Monitoring and Eruption Prediction Division Chief Mariton Bornas. The Department of Science and Technology says acid rain can occur following the volcanic smog or VOG from Taal volcano. In a public briefing, DOST Chief Renato Solidum Jr. explains that while rain can wash down pollutants and improve the smog situation in Metro Manila, it would be a different case for VOG from the Taal volcano. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology earlier clarified that the smog in Metro Manila is not related to the VOG in Taal. Solidum says the water from the rain could mix with the sulfur found in VOG and result in acid rain.
Ang ating kamay nilaan, kung umulan ng malakas, ay nawawash down yung mga pollutants, kaya napapaigi. Pero siyempre, pagdating naman sa bulkan, iba naman ang nangyayari doon. Pwede rin ma-wash down yan, pero kung maliit-liit po ang patak ng tubig, yung paghalo ng asupre sa tubig, nagkakaroon ng acidic rain.
The DOST chief says acid rain can burn a person's skin and cause damage to plants. He also warns farmers of the effects of the Taal VOG and possible acid rain on crops.
Talagang mapapansin ng ating mga kababayan dyan sa paligid ng Taal volcano yung epekto ng volcanic fog or VOG sa kanilang mga pananim. Yung iba nga, pag mas matindi ang concentration, nagkakaroon ng panunuyo, nagiging brown yung kulay, yung iba ay nabubutas.
Health issues several reminders to avoid potential hazards amid smog due to pollution in Metro Manila and volcanic smog from Taal volcano. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources earlier said that the smog that enveloped Metro Manila on Friday is due to vehicular emissions and pollutants trapped by a thermal inversion. This means warmer air where pollutants tend to permeate is held close to the ground. Meanwhile, Taal volcano emitted volcanic smog or VOG in surrounding areas. In an advisory, the DOH reminds the public to limit going outdoors to avoid exposure to harmful smog. If staying indoors, the DOH advises the public to keep doors and windows closed to prevent smog from entering their houses. It also encourages the public to always wear an N95 mask outdoors and stay hydrated. According to the DOH, prolonged exposure to smog may result in respiratory problems. Friends and former colleagues confirmed that former Marikina Mayor Bayani Fernando has died at the age of 77. In a statement, the Marikina city government sends their condolences to the Fernando family. Fernando first became mayor of Marikina in 1992, overlooking the transformation of the locality from a municipality to a modern city. In a separate statement, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority says it is deeply saddened and shocked about Fernando's sudden death. Fernando served as chairman of the MMDA from 2002 to 2009. MMDA says he was known to be a workaholic and a disciplinarian among MMDA employees. It also gives credit to Fernando for the rapid bus lanes and the Metro Guapo campaign that transformed the region into a livable metropolis. The Armed Forces of the Philippines says the Philippine Navy recently conducted a bilateral sail in the West Philippine Sea with their Canadian counterpart. AFP Public Affairs Chief Lieutenant Colonel Enrico Gil Ileto says the BRP Antonio Luna completed its sail in the West Philippine Sea at around 7:23 a.m. on Thursday along the HMCS Ottawa. BRP stands for Barko ng Republika ng Pilipinas, while HCMC means His Majesty's Canadian Ship. Ileto says the joint sail is part of the Philippine Navy's regular engagements with its partners in the country's maritime zones. The Philippine Navy also conducted a joint sail with the United States in the West Philippine Sea earlier this month. Senator Francis Tolentino says a multilateral approach would be much better in evaluating China's alleged destruction of corals in the West Philippine Sea. As chairperson of the Senate's Special Committee on Maritime and Admiralty Zones, Tolentino says it would be better if international communities could help the Philippines investigate China's suspected destruction of marine resources in Rizal Reef. In a television interview, Tolentino says aside from the Philippines' own evaluation, there should be sampling and validation from international groups. Tolentino specifically mentions that the United Nations have their own scientific group that can do this evaluation. The senator makes these recommendations after he pointed out that the country needs to file a case because, quote, China will only pay for the suspected damage it caused if there is conclusive proof shown to support the allegations. The Chinese Foreign Ministry earlier denied responsibility for the destruction of marine resources in Rizal Reef, branding the Philippines' claims as, quote, political drama. However, Tolentino stresses this is only China's way to evade the issue. Here's the latest roundup of today's top stories. While several areas are affected by volcanic smog, Phivolcs and DENR clarify that the smog seen in Metro Manila is not from Taal volcano. China denies destroying marine resources in the West Philippine Sea, says accusations have no factual basis. And the former Marikina Mayor and MMDA Chairman Bayani Fernando dies at 77 years old. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.